Right now, Ukraine's President Zelenskyy is in The Hague speaking to European leaders ahead of the NATO summit, and he's pleading for support for Ukraine's fight against Russia to not diminish amid the Israel-Iran conflict. Sky News reporting that President Zelenskyy hopes to meet with President Trump during the two-day summit, and the pleas come amid a wave of Russian attacks in the past 24 hours. President Zelenskyy on X warning of Russia's ties to Iran in the growing conflict in the Middle East.
We all clearly remember where Russia got such weapons. Iran's decisions to support Russia have brought massive destruction and devastating human losses to our country and many others. This truly must stop, and it must not be enforced with nuclear weapons. There must not be proliferation of nuclear weapons in the modern world.
Another Russian assassination plot as well against Zelenskyy we're learning more about. Authorities say was foiled last year. The plot involved a retired Polish man with ties to the Soviet Union. The Polish court was sent an indictment last month. The Ukrainian government says that the man plotted to use either a sniper rifle or a drone to attack Zelenskyy at an airport in Poland. Here with us now, Andrij Dobriansky, Director of Communications and Media at the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America. Thanks as always. February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine, and here we are years later. On the flip side, you've got this conflict between Iran and Israel, and we'd like to report 12-day war, right, as the president said, ended. Why hasn't that been achievable between Russia and Ukraine to this point? And does this moment give you hope that more pressure will be put on Russia?
I think what we're seeing in the Middle East is a coordination of efforts, not just what happened, as you mentioned, this 12-day war, but this has really been a coordinated attempt by the United States and their allies for the last year. Both administrations, Biden and Trump, have worked very hard to help their ally Israel. And we saw that most notably in public on October of 2024, when an international coalition shot down almost everything that was fired, $1 billion worth of missiles fired at Israel, and it was a coalition of planes and ships shooting that down. Unfortunately, the coalition hasn't been that bold as far as protecting Ukraine. Israel has in fact benefited, and U.S. bases have benefited from the technology upgrades to the Patriot system that have been taking place in Ukraine. So Ukraine is taking the brunt of this, and we as the West are gaining a lot of information, but we haven't helped as much. And we heard this from the Chancellor of Germany today, yesterday, where he publicly stated that Germany should have heeded the warnings of its Eastern allies sooner. He should have listened to the Baltics, to Poland, and to Ukraine about what was coming. And so what we're seeing at the NATO summit today is not what happened for the first 75 years, where the United States was really in the lead. We're going to see for the next 75 years a more dominant Europe. And this is something that the United States has been asking for, but we're really going to be seeing it in terms of how much material is being sent to Ukraine from Europe.
What about the relationship between Trump and Zelenskyy? I mean, President Trump has been very outwardly and publicly frustrated with Zelenskyy and his willingness to negotiate through all of this. Going into this NATO summit, what's the expectation as the two potentially meet?
Well, I don't think that the president has used curse words like he did this morning about Israel to talk about one of his closest allies. So we know that the president of the United States is a volatile person. We know that he was upset last September when Zelenskyy visited the United States, and then 3 days later they were meeting and holding hands and hugging. So there is a skill that the president of the United States has that after he gets upset, he is very quickly able to get back to business. And I think it's going to be very important for the United States to refocus on what's happening in Ukraine because of how all of this is connected. We heard during the report how connected Iran is with Russia, but I also want to add the fact that Russia has now contracted with North Korea, not just for the soldiers, but they are teaching them how to make those Iranian Shahed drones. The ones that targeted Tel Aviv, they're the same ones that target Kiev every night. And now North Korea is going to learn how to do that by the tens of thousands. We're not talking about Ukrainians being targeted. We're not even talking about American citizens in Israel target. Now we're going to be talking about American service members in South Korea that are possibly going to be the victims of this dirty coalition of China, Iran, and North Korea. I mean, Russia, Iran, yeah.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.